24th edition of Hornbill Festival laga Sightline Day US Ambassador to India Eric Karsatibra December 2nd day media logoti kota pataishe. Karsatibra Nagaland State ti mahila ganbra textiles ti Baravadia aro Bloom Bazaar gan lugina kota pataishe. Nagaland di flowers kan pahar de export koribole laga potential lugina address krishe aro Nagaland State aro US majode exchange programs kan takibole aro ekjungi madad korigina age lui jabole kota krishe. Karsatibra nakamanu laga culture tradition gan saigna kushipa chanaishe. Details sabo.
I'll take the second question first. It's my belief, and I think the belief of the United States people, that when people are doing well, it's a safer world, it's a more beautiful world. I think many times people think that only we do things for strategic reasons, like what do you get out of it? And I was raised by parents and my own faith and everything else that you do things because you see a person in need, and I don't care what their religion, culture, language is, they're human beings that you're supposed to, where you can, help. And by the way, be humble, because they're going to teach you something and you're going to learn. They're going to help you too. So I would also challenge the Naga people, what can you do to help Americans and teach us? But I think that the specific work that we can do, we're open to anything. We heard, for instance, the success of a woman who takes these beautiful textiles made by Naga women and gets them into, Banana Republic, gets them into, what's the other place that she said, the other store? And then when we were at the Bloom Bazaar, we heard the potential for flowers here. Because the season here is different than the season in other parts. So when Madhya Pradesh can't produce flowers, they're being produced here. And even that Indigo has promised to help fly them from here to Delhi. And from Delhi, the flower sellers can send them to the world. So part of it is not always physical infrastructure, it's clear. There need to be more roads and anything we can do to help. We have financing mechanisms that we can help if the Indian government would like to. We have experts who can help be engineers and other things for this. That's a part of it. But oftentimes it's just opening up the people-to-people connections. We buy and love flowers. I saw beautiful flowers tonight that I wish were in Los Angeles. So I know that they fly from Delhi around the world. And when I leave here, these are the sorts of things that I will follow up on and see what's the missing link. Why that flower seller say it's frustrating, even though they have these gorgeous roses, these gorgeous other flowers. And then lastly, I think the other thing we can do is give skills. That's what our exchange programs are all about. When we can send people from Naga land to the United States and they can take trips, and we cater those trips so that if they're in business, we'll introduce them to business people. If they're in education, we'll introduce them to educators. For instance, I talked to two women here who said, we have this mental health crisis in our schools. They were both teachers and educators. They said, we have, maybe one person who's a counselor in the school, but we as teachers need to have better training to be counselors too. We know the students, we know their parents, we know the family situation. And so we were thinking about, what sort of access I can give them to potentially people in the United States who have trained teachers to be better mental health professionals. So some of it will be physical and business, and some of it may be, helping the social and spiritual and psychological needs of people. So I come here again, taking things away. It's more than just a show this week. I mean, I think it is real, genuine and love. You've felt the hospitality. It didn't end last night. It kept going and going and going. If I had one more rice beer, I think I wouldn't have been able to make it here today. But it was remarkable to see that moment, not just of how Nagaland presents itself to the world, but to itself. It's a moment you can feel the unity. And sometimes it's when we have outsiders who come in that we become more unified ourselves. We have our attention, maybe sometimes that's when you see us, but sometimes we're here and you don't even see us because we're doing the work on disease control, on increasing, as we saw in the 4 districts where we are, going from, I think, 40% to 91% people now taking the drug daily to suppress the HIV that they have. The bike program that I mentioned, and then helping train. One of the things that I heard very loud and clear in this room was people said, don't just give us direct assistance, help us train trainers. Because one day we need to be self-sufficient. Maybe one day you won't have it in your budget. Maybe one day it'll be a tough moment for India. But communities, and this was the message yesterday, let communities lead. And they said, communities will lead, but we need the tools, we need the lessons. So I leave here thinking about what can we do to do more training, not just service provision. And maybe there are some people who have gone through this around the world, other parts of India that we've worked with, who can come in here and train health professionals who aren't working on HIV and AIDS to be HIV/AIDS warriors as well, because I think that's the only way we'll eliminate it. And in a short period of time, maybe for some folks who live in Nagaland, it's frustrating. When will we get to where we want to go? But it's also breathtaking to see in such a short period of time the transformation. Sometimes it's an outsider's eyes that can see this, and I see a lot of hope, I see a lot of brilliance, and I see a lot of commitment. And we just want to match that with friendship. And the 4 Ps, as I call it: peace, prosperity, planet, and people. And they're all here. Whatever we can do to reinforce peace, whatever we can do to help spread prosperity, and whatever we can do to protect our planet. And the most important piece of that, like you said, whether it's through churches, whether it's through education, whether it's through sports, is the people to people.
Yes.
That's in the end of the day more strong than anything else, with a regime that has killed its own people. So I think we've had a very strong line. We've used our economic and our political tools. There may be other suggestions that people have, and I think our government is very open, but we've led a coalition of like-minded other countries that also have said this behavior is unacceptable. When people shoot at, bomb their own citizens, we will not keep diplomatic relations until they hold elections. When they ignore the democracy, we will have consequences. So you can count on us to continue to do that. I know sometimes people think that America is so powerful we can just change the world overnight, but we know that that's something that the people of Myanmar and Burma have to do for themselves, but we are supportive of democracy, we are supportive of human rights, we're supportive of the ethnic diversity, and I think we have been as strong as any country in the world. Other countries will continue to do business with a regime that clearly violates human rights and has killed their own citizens, and the United States will not. Here, I was very impressed with the initial infrastructure, and I know how much work has gone and changed in the last 10 years to have that road really link the capital and the economic capital, if you will. That was very impressive to me. It wasn't just a smooth road, it was a really high-end. I've seen a lot of roads in my life. I've been on the bumpiest roads in the world, and I've been on the best highways in America, and it was right up there at the top. The topography, twists and twists. If you're not looking straight ahead, you're definitely going to get car sick. The pineapple impressed me. We stopped, and I had a pineapple and talked to a couple women who were at one of the fruit stalls. And, and obviously what's impressed the most is just this ability to show such diverse cultures. 17 tribes at once come together, and walking around, I did probably most of my Christmas shopping at the festival at one time. The challenge is, I'll say one other thing. I was impressed by the beauty, and we went today to Konoma. But so we to see the way that the small town lives, to me, was incredibly impressive. To see the way the clans have such a sense of unity, that the village has a sense of unity, and the way the rice paddies and the land are shared. And it's a very impressive village. It's the first green village in Asia, and I'm a big environmentalist. The crop rotation, the intelligence that's used to let some of the jungle come back in, to preserve the animals that are now there. To me, that was very, very notable. The challenges are, I think, the challenges that we face in any place where you're trying to seek investment. That the nice road ends, it gets bumpy, it's tough. I can't even imagine in monsoon season what it's like. And then hearing from leaders here in Nagaland saying that was only an hour and a half away from here. Try going 18 hours to a remote place in a single day. I was talking to the Joint Secretary today that was at Bloom Bazaar, and he traveled. He said in certain districts it would be an 18-hour drive that day just to get within the district from one end to the other. That's an immense challenge. And so I leave here thinking, what can we do to be helpful? How can we get together with the Indian government, the Japanese government, others who are starting to invest in the Northeast? And I think you've seen more investment in the Northeast than maybe the last 10 years than you've seen in 20 or 30 before that. But there's still a lot left to do.